All right, everyone. You have to stop dancing on the ceiling now and come down so we can get to work on this last week of November, part of December weekly setup. So, my name is Maya, and I am coming to you from Denver, Colorado, where we have had quite a bit of snow. Um, I mean, actually, accumulation hasn't been too bad, but it's been kind of snowing since like Thursday, maybe even Wednesday night it started. So it's been kind of cold and snowy. Today was a little bit warmer, but I had a lot of computer work to do, which I should have done earlier when it was cold and snowy. But anyway, as some of you who have been around for a while know, my platform for when I want to get to rule the world is I'm going to make it so every week, every month starts on a Monday, so it doesn't mess up our journal. We can have an easy month, but it doesn't work that way. We know we've got part of the week in November, part of the week in December. I saw lots of folks asking, what is everybody doing? Are you jumping into December? Because we have the full week in both journals, right? So some people are like, do you jump ahead to December? Do you stay in November? Usually what I do is I kind of figure whichever month has the most days of the week. So in this case, November, I just kind of stick in the November journal, but I'll set up my December. And so obviously, because I want to track my stuff for the monthly and the mood tracker, the habit tracker, those kinds of things. So I kind of straddle both journals for a while, which is not the funnest thing ever. So it's totally up to you, whatever you want to do. We're going to give you page numbers for both because I know we probably have some new folks who are maybe new to Silk and Sonder, new to the weekly setups. December is going to be your first journal. So obviously you don't have a choice if you don't have a November journal. You're starting out in December, which is lovely and absolutely fine. So speaking of that, is anybody new? Like you're brand new to Silk and Sonder. December is going to be your first. Haley, welcome. First timer here. So Susan's raising her hand. Yes, awesome. Alyssa, new. Melinda is excited for December to start. Oh, awesome. Lots and lots of new. Oh, excellent. Welcome, welcome to all of our new folks as well as our returning folks. We love to see you here. So we always have every weekend we will do the weekly setups. We usually do them also on Monday mornings too. So sometimes we'll have them Saturday evenings, Sunday mornings, Sunday evenings, and Monday mornings. They've been kind of experimenting with which ones get the bigger attendance. So they've been kind of jumping around with those. So just kind of keep an eye when you register for those December socials. And of course, when we have holiday, when the holidays pop in, it can be a little bit difficult to make sure that we have a facilitator to staff it. So they kind of mixes around a lot, but we always want to make sure that you have hopefully at least one. You will probably notice in December, I think Christmas falls on a Monday. So I think Sunday and Monday, we're going to have some replays for folks. So just kind of keep an eye out. There'll be some stuff in your emails, those kinds of things, just as you're thinking about planning ahead. So when we do these weekly setups, and well, any social really, we want to make sure that you set your Zoom chat to everyone. So there's that little picture up there in the or down there, I guess, in the lower left hand that make sure that little blue box says everyone. For a lot of people, it defaults back to host and panelist. And so then the only people that will see it are myself and my fabulous stage manager here with us tonight, Bailey. So she's going to pop on and give a little wave. Hey, Bailey. She did a setup last night, and we do record our socials, and they are available on a YouTube channel, which will give you the link to that at the end, so you can always watch it again if you want afterward, or if you miss, just know that the chat is not there. So speaking of the chat, sometimes the chat gets rolling pretty fast. We have about 200 folks with us so far here tonight. So sometimes it starts to kind of scroll really fast and it's hard to keep track of. So some people come, they don't pay attention to the chat at all. They just focus on filling out their journal, and they do that. Oh, Natasha was asking about being on mute. All of you, I can't see any of you and we can't hear any of you. So you don't have to worry about kiddos in the background or pets in the background, or if you've got a face mask on, you're doing a little beauty routine on Sunday night. Nope, we can't see or hear any of that. You can only see and hear me. So we'll get these set up. And again, make sure you have that chat to everyone. Some people, like I said, don't even look at the chat. They're focused on the journal. Some people like to hang out in the chat. This is kind of their fun social hour, right? So they kind of look for tips and tricks. They kind of look for fun ideas for things to do, ways to set this up, and then they take notes, right? So sticky notes can be your friend here as you're kind of keeping track of how you want to set this up, right? So it's totally up to you, right? This is your social. This is here for you. There's no right or wrong way to attend. Like I said, some people are very active in the chat. Some people don't pay much attention to it at all. Totally up to you as you go forward. So just a few community guidelines, and we always stress these at the beginning of each social just to make sure that you understand. We want this to be a safe and supportive space, right? We want this to be a place where you get some good ideas, where you have some support for things that you're going through. So we want you to be kind and courteous to yourself as well as others. No promotions or spam, respecting folks' privacy, no hate speech or bullying, limiting those repetitive product and accessory questions. The best place to ask those questions about pins and stickers and all those kinds of things is in the Sonder Club app. That way folks it's a lot easier for people to kind of post pictures and just share links and those kinds of things, right? If you have any customer care inquiries, like subscription inquiries, billing inquiries, the discount code isn't working, whatever, right? Those go to hello@silkandsonder.com. Bailey and I don't have any access to your accounts. So we can't check in on any of that. So address changes, those kinds of things, all go to hello@silkandsonder.com. Just keep in mind that they are a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 group. And so sometimes it might take them a little while to get back to you if you email on a weekend or at the beginning of a weekend, right? And remember, ultimately, these socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community. And we have a fabulous supportive community here. But remember, ultimately, you're responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. So if anything gets stressful, if we're doing a journaling prompt, like in this one, we're doing a weekly setup. So usually things aren't quite as, they don't get quite as deep. But sometimes in those journaling setups, we can get deep into some of the questions. And so if something is not feeling right for you, it's triggering for you, it's upsetting, you don't want to deal with it, you don't have to. Again, remember, this is up to you. This is all for you. So if you don't like the music that I play when we work on the different parts, you can put it on mute and just use the closed captioning for when I come back in and chat. If you don't like listening to me, you can put it on closed captioning and you can see what I'm saying and you don't have to listen to me, right? So if there's a particular section you don't want to work on, totally skip it, right? You can do stickers, you can do whatever. We always say there's no journal police. Bailey and I are not going to come knocking on your door to see your journal and give you demerits if something wasn't done right. There's really no wrong way to do this. It's whatever works for you. So keep that in mind as we kind of go through. So here's our agenda for tonight. We're going to wrap up the nostalgia mind map. So that's one of the things we do. We do this mind map on the weekly setups where we dig into the theme, right? And so again, this month has been nostalgia. So we've got week 4 of that. We do the rosebud thorn, which is usually at the end of the week to kind of give a little reflection. Then we'll dig into that weekly setup. And I always use these 2 little cartoons. Oh, Rev, we would love to pay you a visit. Well, come by sometime and knock on your door and ask to see your journals. I always like to remind folks, first of all, that there's room for you here just as you are. I always say sometimes life is rocking, life is going great. You got a promotion, you got a raise, everything's going great. Things are working out really well, right? And you want to share those successes. You want to share all of that fun. We are here for that. We want to celebrate with you, which, by the way, is next month's theme, right? That celebration. However, we also know that life isn't always like that. Life can throw us lots of curveballs. Life can be really kind of a pain sometimes, right? I have a sister, my youngest sister right now is going through it's just one of those things where the universe just keeps kind of throwing things at her, bad things at her all. It just seems very constant, right? If that's happening to you, you can share that here too, right? We want to help you get through that. Sometimes just hearing someone else saying, girl, me too, right? Like that's happening to me or that's happened to me before. this is so stressful. We're keeping you in our thoughts, hugs to you, right? We have folks who maybe lose a job. We have folks who have been ill. We have people who have lost family members, who have lost the furry family members, lost a job, any of those kinds of things. So don't ever feel like you can't share too much happy or you can't share too much sad, right? Again, we're here for you to support that and to support those feelings that you're having, right? And that goes to the other one. The way you feel matters. No emotion you feel is bad or unworthy. No one can tell you how you're supposed to feel, right? You feel as you feel, right? And I see lots of folks saying, Regina's saying the last 2 weeks have been ugly for me. Girl, I'm sorry. Like things are just definitely stressful. I also see lots of folks saying that they want to have some live in-person events. And we've been talking about that. But it's still kind of in the works and very early stages, but it's always something that you can email hello@silkandsonder.com and let them know you would love to have that. I love Christy has the idea of an ambassador program for each state to help people gather. I would love to see some of that as well, right? Or have a retreat. That would be fun too. So we're wrapping up that theme of nostalgia, which I know some people didn't care for this theme at all, which is fine, right? Sometimes there's the theme for the month and we're like, not really feeling it. That's okay. You can pick a theme from a different month. You don't even have to worry about the theme. You can kind of do what you want to do. And like I said, the nice thing is this week we're going to wrap into December as well. So if you are ready to leave November completely behind, jump right into your December book and we'll move forward. But we are going to talk a little bit about this idea of the mind map, talking about nostalgia. So the 4 weekends in the month, and this is the 4th weekend. So this week we are going to ask the question and journal a little bit about the question. Is there something from the past that you could reintegrate back into your life to find joy? All right. The other thing I want to recommend for new folks is sometimes the slides have really good stuff on them and you want to kind of keep you want to work on it a little bit later. You want a little more time. So I always suggest like grab your phone, take a picture or take a screenshot. If you're on your computer or on your phone, you can do the screenshot so that you can come back to these slides later, right? So again, here's the prompt for week 4 about, is there something from the past you could reintegrate back into your life to find joy? So keep in mind a couple tips and tricks here. There's no time requirement to define the past, right? The past could be last year. The past could even be 6 months ago. The past could be 5 years ago. You don't have to go straight back to childhood, right? I think a lot of times we think nostalgia, we have to go back to childhood. You don't have to do that. You can define how you're going to rediscover and reflect on this question. Maybe you want to look through old pictures like this day in history. You know how sometimes Facebook will kind of give you this day 4 years ago or this day 5 years ago. Or Bailey and I were talking before this about how we upload all our pictures to Google. And you can just kind of scroll through and look. So maybe you want to kind of look through some pictures and see. Or think about maybe what did you do for fun, right? Thinking about fun, things that were fun, things that bring you joy. So here's some ideas. Maybe playing an instrument. I know a lot of folks used to play an instrument. They haven't done that for a while. Maybe that's something you want to pick back up again that could help bring you joy. Old hobbies. I saw Samantha saying had bought a latch hook kit and hasn't done one since she was a kid. So that's a fun, I mean, that seems like a fun thing to do, right? Kind of see how that works. Maybe games. Bailey and I were also talking about how much we really enjoy playing like board games or card games. Maybe you haven't done that for a while. Is there a way you can kind of bring that back in? Maybe it's baking or cooking. Maybe you used to always go look for new recipes or find new recipe books, right? You could always bring that back in. Maybe you want to write letters, have a pen pal, snail mail, right? Do something like that. I know I'm in a group that people sign up to do, like they do little paintings, like little cute little watercolor paintings, not anything like professional or super intense, but they just kind of do little watercolor paintings and write letters back and forth to each other. Maybe it's some volunteer work that you do that you could maybe start back up again or start something similar to that. So here's some examples. Bailey's is up in the top right-hand corner where she talks about maybe more time outside, playing those games, video games, puzzles, board games, trivia, spending time with her animals, singing, those kinds of things. Mine is down in kind of the bottom in the middle where I was thinking about, I used to love listening to record albums, like the whole album on a record player with my headphones on. So I need to find the power cord for my record player, but I thought that's something I could potentially incorporate back in. And then someone had posted this one on Sonder Club saying maybe I could get back on the Peloton. I love the music, motivation, and sense of accomplishment. Right. So maybe it's something like that. Maybe it's you used to, run a lot of 5Ks, or I see different people putting different things in there. Haley, you were asking if you're starting December. These aren't going to be the same. These are the questions specifically for nostalgia. We'll have a new set of questions for December's theme of celebration. So if you want to work on this, you can maybe just find a little section. Maybe you could do like the scratch pad, or you can maybe find a blank page anywhere to work on that. Right. So I'm going to play a little bit of music, let you work on that, and then we'll check back in here with everyone here in just a moment. Okay, I know that wasn't a lot of time, but just gives you an idea of something to think of. I also saw a few folks saying things like, I don't necessarily want to reflect on the past. The past is the past. I'm moving forward. I'm more about the present, or I'm more about the future, which is awesome. And we're not asking you to live in the past by any stretch of the imagination, right? But I think sometimes it is good to reflect back on the past. How they say those who don't remember the past are doomed to repeat it. So sometimes it's good to think about the good things. Sometimes it's good to think about the bad things, but think about them with that lens of these are things in the past. I can't change them. I don't want them to define me, but maybe there's something that for whatever reason you've kind of gotten out of the habit of doing, but you did really enjoy it. And it's like, oh yeah, I forgot how much I really like doing this. Right. So again, totally up to you as you think about that question and as you reflect on that. And then next month, we'll have a new set of questions for 4 weeks worth of questions to go dig into that theme of celebration. There's some fun questions. I was working on those today. So those will be fun. So the next thing we're going to kind of keep in that frame of reflection, we're going to reflect back on the previous week. And so if you have November's journal, this is on page 50. If you only have December, that is absolutely fine, right? You can use just any sort of blank page. You could use a sticky note, post-it note. You could use the scratch pad if there's any of the Some people like to use maybe the expense tracker that's on page 26 or 25. If you don't use that, maybe you want to use the sleep tracker if you don't use that to kind of take some little notes or whatever for this. But so what we always do is we think about something that's a rose, something that's a highlight of our week. Something that was fun, something that brought us joy. Our bud is that emerging opportunity, something we're looking forward to, something that's coming up. And then our thorn is something that's a challenge, maybe something that's out of our control, something that we don't really get to have a lot of impact on. So for me, and sometimes I like to start with a thorn so I can end with the rose on a happier note, right? So my thorn has been my sleep quality has gotten junky again. Like I've had issues with my sleep for several years, but it kind of sort of gotten better. But now it's back to me being up like every night at 2 in the morning. And I read a book or something for a while. I don't do the doom scrolling like I used to do, but it's very frustrating because then by the time I finally get back to sleep and then it's time to get up again for work. And so that's definitely been a thorn. And I feel like I've done all the things that they tell you to do to help with sleep. I fall asleep great, but do not stay asleep. My bud is we're going next weekend to Reno to visit some relatives, my husband's sister and her kids. So I'm very excited about that. So that's something I'm looking forward to. And then my rose for this week was we did our annual trip up to the mountains to cut our Christmas tree. So we do that every year. This is the 24th year that my husband and I have gone up into the mountains. It's super fun. This year was very snowy and pretty cold. It was probably one of the colder years. And it was actively snowing while we were up there, which was lovely because it makes for a very lovely Christmassy mood. And so that's a picture of our tree that's decorated there in our living room. It's one of the smaller ones we've gotten. We usually get it's about an 18-foot tree because it usually goes to the ceiling. This one doesn't go completely to the ceiling this time, but that was okay. So have that. So that was definitely my rose. So I'm going to let you you're welcome to share in the chat if you would like your rose, your bud, or your thorn, or all three. Sometimes you will notice sometimes one thing is actually all three of them. It's the rose, the bud, and the thorn. That happens sometimes. When we were remodeling our bedroom, it was the rose, the bud, and the thorn for several weeks, right? So think back on last week. I'll play a little bit of music. We'll check back in here in just a few minutes, all right? Okay. Hey, so hopefully that gave you a little bit of time to reflect. I see lots of folks sharing different things in the chat. I see there's definitely a lot of health issues, folks with back issues, folks that have not been feeling good. That is always a thorn, any sort of illness, or if you have chronic pain, that can be such a, like to have to deal with. But I hope you were able to find a rose in your week and find that bud something to look forward to. We have some folks who have some job interviews coming up. We have some different folks who are looking forward to some different things. So it's always good to do this at the end of the week, just to kind of think back, helps us remember there are good along with the bad, right? And then the nice thing is, if you have these, once you have these for a month, when you do the setup for the next month, you can always flip back really easily to help you when you reflect on the month. It's easy to kind of go back and find a way to kind of reflect back on the highlights and the lowlights, right? Yeah, Margaret's saying, I love this exercise. It's very helpful. And you can even do this on a daily basis, right? You can even at the end of the day say, okay, what was the rose of my day? What's the bud that's coming up? And what's a thorn that maybe I had for the day, right? And Sarah's saying I need to look back at the year. So it is nice to be able to have this. I've seen it kind of worded differently sometimes. I can't remember the different things I've seen, but generally the idea is that rosebud thorn, right? All right. So let's jump into, this is week 48 of the year 2023. We are getting ready to wrap up the year, right? So this is either going to be in page 52 and 53 of your November journal, or it will be in page 26, 27 of your December journal. Again, whichever way you want to go. Maybe you've got both journals and you're kind of filling them both out a little bit as you split the week, whatever works for you. So the first thing we like to tackle and take a look at is how we want to feel for the week. And I think this is really important. I think it really kind of helps you set up that intention. How do you want to show up for the week? How do you want to be for the week? What's that feeling that you want to have? Because if you can really focus in on that feeling, then everything else, your goals and your to-dos and your activities and all those kinds of things will help you have that feeling, right? So I see someone's already saying joy. So I love this little picture of the little marshmallow snowman in the warm cocoa, because like I said, we've definitely had some cold going on here and some snow. Some fun words here. And then here's some examples of things that people have done. Sometimes it's one word. Sometimes they just put a sticker. Sometimes it's kind of a little sentence, right? I want to feel flexible. I want to feel light and airy from letting things go. So I'm going to let you think about your feeling. I see lots of folks putting things in there. I'm loving seeing all those different ones. I'll play just a brief little bit of music as you're kind of thinking of those things, and we'll check back in and keep moving as we go through the week. Right. Thank you for sharing all of those great words. I saw lots of folks saying things like healthy, determined, productive, like a bright light, accomplished, what else? In control, industrious. I saw insouciant. That's a fun word. Inspiring, calm and cozy, festive, jolly. That's really fun. Loved, engaged, prepared. So again, really kind of reflect on that word. And you might even, as a few days go by, you might decide you want a different word. You can always kind of cross out the word or add a new word in there for how you want to feel going forward, right? So then we'll drop down to our weekly major 3 goals. So these are 3 goals that you want to accomplish this week. So you might have monthly goals or you might have yearly goals. So with those, you might want to narrow them down to something that would be a goal for the very specific for the week. And you can have more than 3. However, we do recommend just having 3 because sometimes we tend to, you don't want like 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 because then it becomes too much, like when everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. So it's hard for our brains to really be able to focus on more than about 3. You can also have 1. You could have 1 main goal for the week and that's all. You could have 2. Right. So again, it's kind of up to you and what works for that week. Maybe you want to go back to your intentions. Maybe you want to look at the monthly habit tracker. Maybe you want to keep setting your goals through the lens of nostalgia, or you want to flip and you want to set them through that lens of celebration. For December, maybe you want to have some no goals. I find these work really well, saying things like no alcohol for the week, no doom scrolling, no more than a certain number of minutes spent on social media, no impulse spending, no takeout meals. Maybe you still have some goals from last week that you haven't quite finished up. Bring those forward. Absolutely, right? Maybe you want to have a personal challenge. So maybe it's a fitness challenge. Maybe it's a cleaning or decluttering. Maybe it's a self-care challenge, a soup or salad or some kind of recipe challenge, right? Something that you want to maybe do for the week. Here's some examples of things that folks have done. I really like the one in the middle top. They have a left brain, a right brain, and a no brain goal, right? And so I think that's kind of a funny way to kind of set things up. And yes, I saw someone ask, the week begins Monday to Sunday. Yes, the journal goes Monday through Sunday. Maybe you want to have a family goal and a home goal and a work goal. Maybe you want to just kind of think about it in general, like a decluttering, organizing, and cleaning are your goals for the week. Prioritize sleep, make a movement plan, increase effort at work. Maybe you want to look at this that we got from, this comes from an Instagram account called Creative with Money, but it's 6 ways to prioritize your mental health until New Year's. So different things like saying no, creating a realistic holiday budget. So maybe your goal is to create your holiday budget. Maybe it's to practice gratitude for the week. Maybe it's to push things back a day or 2 on your to-do list, or being realistic about the things you want to do. Bailey and I were also just talking about the fact that as human beings, we tend to underestimate the amount of time it's going to take to do something. How often have you said, oh, this should only take about 30 minutes, and then 2.5 hours later, you're thinking, oh, why did I think this was only going to take 30 minutes? So maybe trying to be a little more realistic with that sometimes can be very helpful. If you don't want to set any goals, maybe you have monthly goals and it doesn't make sense to set weekly goals. Maybe you want to repurpose it for 3 new vocabulary words that you want to incorporate into your talking this week or your writing. Maybe it's movies you want to watch or TV shows that you want to see. Maybe it's a playlist for the week. Maybe it's 3 fun activities, or maybe it's some sort of festive holiday going to things to do, right? Again, kind of think of those ways to repurpose. Oh, Crystal says, I call that time optimism. Yes, we are very optimistic, thinking things won't take as long as they do. So again, I'll play a little bit of music. I'll let you work on this section, and then we'll check back in here in just a few minutes. Oops. All right. So hopefully you have some goals for the week, some ideas for maybe some specific things that you want to have in there, those overarching things to accomplish. And again, remember, if you don't get them finished up during the week, you can always move them over to the next week. There's no rule that tells you not to do that, right? So let's jump into those to-dos then. So those are over to the left of those goals. So now you've got these goals. The best way to think about the to-dos is, what are those little tasks? What are those gradual steps that I can take to help me move forward on my goals, right? So again, remember, the results you want rarely come without a process of gradual steps toward it. So that's a good way to think of your to-dos. So lots of different ways to kind of approach that. I love the one on the top left. They have to-dos for self, others, and house. So for self, they have 3 self-care bingo activities. Others, they want to help mom do something at the house. And for the house, they want to do some decluttering. And I like their kind of little bumblebee path kind of moving along there. Maybe you want to set it up for some AM, PM things that you want to do, right? Maybe you want to do a bingo board. We love our Sonder fam loves a good bingo. So you could do a to-do bingo, or you could do what they call a ta-da bingo, right? So maybe some of the bigger things, and then when they get them done, they can cross them off and say ta-da. Or one of the things that sometimes is helpful, when you do something that maybe wasn't on your list, make sure you write it down so that you can check it off, right? So that you can remember you did get some things done. Some people like to use what's called the Eisenhower matrix. So the idea with that is that you take those to-dos and you kind of plug them into one of these 4 quadrants. You decide if it's something important and urgent, you're going to do it. It's important and not urgent, you're going to decide if maybe it can be postponed to a later time. Maybe it's something that's not important, but it's urgent. Maybe you can think about delegating to maybe some family members or other folks. And maybe it's not important and it's not urgent, but it's things that you, for some reason, think that you need to do. So maybe it's things that you could actually delete, right? And here's another page of different examples of things that folks have done. Sometimes people like to maybe put a quote in here. They have a master to-do list somewhere, so they don't necessarily need to fill it in here. Maybe they have their weekly to-do list. Maybe they, or in their to-dos, they have it to be, right? So instead of to do, it's to be. Ways I want to be. I want to be present. I want to be encouraging. I want to be confident. I want to be brave. I want to be uncomfortable. Maybe you can think of it in that way. The other thing, I'm going to go ahead and do the habit and activity section that's right underneath this, because some people they want to kind of figure out which one they want to put some things in. They have these ideas of activities that they want to do, but they're not sure if it should be in the to-do list, or maybe it's something that needs to be done more often in that week. So let me show you some examples of those. So right underneath the to-dos, where it says habit and activity, the idea is you would have something that's specific to the week. You have a goal for maybe the number of times that you want it to happen that week, and you can color in the days that you get it done. So here's some examples of things that folks have done. You don't have to fill in every line, right? One person has a just say no example of things where they want to do no social media and deleting emails, unsubscribing from emails maybe. I love the one where they have laughing, kissing, hugging as 1, random acts of kindness as 2, and curl up and read as 3. So they only have 3 things, right? Instead of, the list of 5, right? You don't have to fill in every single line. Here's some other examples of things that folks have done. Again, saying they kind of do the outlining the circle for those are the days they want to do things. So they want to put lotion on their feet like every day. Maybe in the evening, they want to have some self-care. They want to do a night walk or a dance, coming to socials, kind of having some days where they're thinking of doing those things. Also, good to note, some people will kind of cross out the days. Maybe you're going on vacation. Maybe you don't want to necessarily have to think about things happening on those days. So you can just kind of X out that part, right? Again, you don't have to fill in every line. Every line doesn't have to be something that you want to do 7 times. And some people will ask, well, how is this different from that habit wheel that I do at the beginning of the month? The habit wheel is more for things you want to do every single day. And this is really more of those things that are specific to the week, right? So kind of think of it in that way. Some people don't even put down a goal, right? They just I like the one on that bottom left where they just kind of scribble through the goal with just the color. Absolutely can do that. right? So I'll kind of cycle through these, play a little bit of music, think about what you want to put in the to-dos, think about what you want to put in the habits and activities. Again, you don't have to necessarily fill in every line. You don't have to necessarily use these. You can use these for a quote. You can use these for, again, a playlist, a bingo, anything that makes sense for you as you're working through. So play a little bit of music. Feel free to share in the chat how you're using these two sections, and we'll check back in here in just a moment. All right. So hopefully folks have an idea what they want in there for those to-dos. You have an idea of how you want to track those habits slash activities that you're putting in there. And again, if you decided not to use one of those or either one of those sections, absolutely fine, right? Whatever works for you. I do recommend kind of experimenting, right? See what works one week, try something out. If it doesn't work, that's the nice thing. In a week, we get another chance to try something different. If it's been working for you, if you had some habits and activities that worked really well last week, bring them forward. I almost always have the pack a lunch 3 times a week for work. Bringing those forward, they're working for you. If you know, say if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So something that's working, you can always keep that. You don't have to come up with brand new stuff every week, right? So let's flip over to the next page. So this is what we have. One of our facilitators, Katie, she calls this her B side, right? The B side of the record. So sometimes we like to listen to the B side. Sometimes we need that B side, and sometimes we don't really need it. So this is kind of a maybe a little extra place where you can do some different things, track some different things. Again, it's a good place to experiment with different things that you need for the week. So I would say that the meal plan is probably one of our most heavily repurposed sections. Obviously, you can use it to plan your meals, you can use it to track your meals, but lots of other folks use it for things like a place to put their daily affirmations or track their exercise or make a cleaning plan, end of day reflections, packing list, all those different kinds of examples. So again, this is a good place to take some screenshots so you can remember, like, what are some of the things people did with this? And again, this one really depends for me on what's going on this week, what I need to maybe keep track of. Sometimes I like to plan my dinners. Sometimes I use it for a workout plan. Sometimes I use it for a cleaning. I'll use it for a packing list sometimes if I'm going on a trip. Lots of different ways. Here's some other examples of things that people have done. Again, that wardrobe tracker, packing list, appointments that they have for the week, their chore list, self-care tracker. Yeah, Andrea's saying she uses it for that. Some folks use it as Monica's saying mine is my to-dos for each day, such as what wants to get accomplished, appointments that are scheduled. Again, kind of whatever works for you. And I'm going to go through each section on this page so that you can kind of see the different examples and figure out what's going to work best for you before I play a little music, so you can kind of see how people have used these different areas. So the Mind Body Health Plan is that little box up in the top. And that really, the idea is something you're doing something for your mind and your body every day. So again, this can look very, very different. You can use this for, some people are saying, some people use it for a bingo, right? Again, you can put in a bingo there. One person kind of used the washi tape to cover up the days and had something I did well this week, some ways that I loved others this week. Maybe you want to have things like the person in the bottom middle where they have like errands and appointments, webinars, Sonder Socials, appointments, and then they have relax for Saturday and Sunday, right? There's some easy weekday self-care ideas from our Silk and Sonder Instagram, right? So different things that you could potentially do if you had 60 seconds, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, or 10 minutes. One person used it. They have this fun alliteration, right? So they have Meatless Monday, TV Free Tuesday, Walking Wednesday. So those are kind of fun little ways to do it. If you're just tracking dinners, maybe this is, or planning dinners, this is maybe a good place to do that. The one person in the bottom left, they gave themselves 3 different options. I love a good set of options, right, for things that they can do each day that will help either their mind and or their body. And then the shopping list, same thing. This one I think gets repurposed quite a bit. Obviously, you can use it just as a list for shopping, or you can maybe give yourself a directive like no unnecessary spending, stay out of the dollar store, right? No junky snacks. Maybe it's, again, a packing list. Maybe it's some intentions that you have for the week. Maybe it's a bingo, like a self-care bingo, a birthday week bingo. One person they have 3 things for self-care and 3 things to restore their soul. So that's kind of a fun way to take a look at different things to do. One person has their chores that they're kind of keeping track there. And then for the I am loving section, again, it's just something that you're loving for that week. These are some fun self-care things to do this winter. Things like, drink some mulled wine, experiment with cooking stews and soups, having a pajama day. We were talking about that, I think last week, talking about we wanted to have a pajama day. I hope some people maybe did have their pajama days during this last week. And here's some other examples what things are. So Sarah, bingo is just you put in some different things. You make a bingo. You can make it, like 3 by 3. So you have 9 things. When you do the things, you cross off. And you're looking for bingo. So you could have one row makes a bingo. Some people do blackout where they check out all the boxes. It's just kind of a way to gamify. You can see the different things that people put in there. Some people, one person has a 5 by 3, so they have 15 different things in there, right? So it's just kind of a fun way to keep track of things, to cross things off, to make it a little more fun, right? So I'm going to cycle through these. Feel free to share with us in the chat maybe different ways that you like to use these different little sections. We'll play some music and then we'll come back and then we'll wrap things up. All right. Okay, so hopefully you got some good ideas for some different things to do in this section. Again, yep, lots of people like to do chore plans, just really kind of again, sometimes it's very specific to the week. Sometimes I don't fill these in at all, and just something hits me maybe midweek that I need to keep track of, or something that I want to write down. Sometimes I read a good quote or a book that somebody mentions that I want to write down. Yeah, you could totally start doing some holiday movies in here. You can make a little bingo, right? Anything like that. And again, that I am loving is totally up to you, right? However you want to use that little section for the week. I do want to show you really quick because I know we're getting ready to run out of time, but I know because we have a lot of new folks, just to kind of give you some ideas of things that people do with the Monday through Sunday, the dailies. Sometimes people will divide it up into things like writing down their highs and lows, a brain dump. So anything that's kind of floating around in their head, they write it down. Self-care ideas, things that they want to do for their household. Maybe they keep track of their to-dos or places to go, or they write down their affirmations. This is the person who did the Motivational Monday, Transformation Tuesday, right? They kind of have a theme for their day. So they're kind of keeping track of those particular things and habits. Maybe doing like a Bible verse, a quote, an affirmation in each day to kind of write down. I like the pretty colors there and the nice little boxes. They also have kind of a little chore list up there in the top that they keep track of in the one thing box. Again, here's some other examples. We have the person on the left who does some things on like social media. So they're keeping track of the different social media posts that they do, the stories that they put out, if they're doing trivia, like those kinds of things that they're keeping track of. And then the person on the right has things that they accomplished for the day. Excuse me, some self-care, things that they want to do tomorrow, etc. So just a lot of different ways to set this up as you like, right? And some people just kind of use it as a scratch pad for the week. So yes, this is seriously the fastest hour. It's way faster than a treadmill hour, right? This hour goes by so quick. So hopefully this gave you lots of new ideas for ways that maybe you want to use this. Again, things that will serve you, things that will work well as you go forward. So we love when you share your weekly planner sections with us. If you want to, if you feel like it, if you're comfortable doing that, you noticed all our examples are real life Sonder fam examples. They're not made up, pretend, beautiful looking, right? These very curated things. These are things that people actually have done and used, right? So we love to get those to share. So feel free to share those. So just really quick, we do still have some promotions going on, and Bailey is popping in some links in the chat about referring a friend to Silk and Sonder. They get $10. You get $10 if they sign up with your link. We do still have the upgrade to an annual subscription deal going on. You've probably gotten lots of emails. We had the Black Friday sales going on. I'm sure we have some sort of Cyber Monday thing that will come out tomorrow, right? So kind of keep an eye. We do also have a feedback survey about the socials, like what kinds of things would you like to see. Make sure that's a great place to say what times and days you would like to see socials. Make sure you let them know your time zone that you're in. And then also Bailey is putting in the link to the YouTube channel where you can always watch these recorded socials. They don't have the chat, but they do have pretty much everything else, right? So you can always watch them. Not as much fun as coming live, but we know sometimes that doesn't always work. Or if you ever miss the mind map from a weekly setup, you can usually catch that on the social feedback survey or on the YouTube channel. I'm looking at the wrong thing. So thank you all so much for being here. We love to see you. Hopefully this gave you a chance to scare away the Sunday scaries, right? Feeling a little more prepared for your week as you go forward. And hopefully we will see you again soon at another social. Take care, everyone.
I've been reading books of old, the legends and the myths, Achilles and his gold, Hercules and his gifts, Spider-Man's control, and Batman with his fist. And clearly I don't see myself upon that list. But she said, where'd you wanna go? How much you wanna risk? I'm not looking for somebody with some superhuman gifts, some superhero, some fairy tale bliss. Just something I can turn to, somebody I can kiss. I want something just like this. Doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo. Oh, I want something just like this.